First of all, I see you almost on a daily basis on CNN trying to unpack our unpackable world. How are you staying on 2 feet? How are you doing the job right now?
My kids keep me the most humble, and watching two amazing little twins run around the house with the youthful naivete they have makes you get that warm feeling that you just want to make this country, and in particularly the South, a place where they can live and grow and be happy and healthy, and maybe not have to worry about some of the same things my father did or I did growing up, and be able to truly be free.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. One of the things I've heard you say before, and I've certainly thought about this as someone who came from a rural Southerner's background, is that there's a perception when you get out there sometimes, still to this day, in the year of our Lord 2025, that Southerners are bumbling idiots. How do you think we're doing, Southerners, in terms of dealing with that perception?
I think we're fine as long as my friend Mark Sanford stays off the Appalachian Trail. I think that we'll be just fine. No, it's you're starting to see some people emerge on the national scene from the South, both on the right and the left. People like everybody from Nikki Haley, Stacey Abrams. You have some up and coming individuals like the Jeff Jacksons of the world. And so I think the South is just becoming more refined, articulate. The question is, are we forward looking enough? That's always been my biggest concern about being raised in the South and people having this really weird nostalgia for yesterday.
Mm.
But with places like the Research Triangle and places like Charleston, South Carolina, or Atlanta, Georgia, we can really be the hub for what tomorrow looks like. I just don't know if we have that vision in place.
What's it going to take to get that vision in place? What does that require?
A new generation of leadership. We now, for each one of those names I named of young kind of new leaders of the future of tomorrow, the Josh Steins of the world, we still have a considerable amount of age on us in our state legislatures and in our United States Congress, our members of the United States Congress. We have to be willing to turn the page on both sides.
Gotcha. I wanted to ask you this because, as you mentioned earlier, you're a father. I'm a father. There's certainly a lot of anxiety out there in general, but I've heard this line of thinking before that it's a particularly hard time to be a parent, to deal with climate anxiety, to deal with the gun violence. We're afraid of World War III. We're afraid for our democracy. How do you, as a parent, deal with that?
I don't know. We've gone through the transplant process too, with our little girl. So we've been in and seen some of the best and brightest facilities we have in the country. I'm talking about Duke right now. And every time your phone rings, you're concerned about what's going on. They came home the other day and said they had an active shooter drill at their school. You look at kind of how racism has become in vogue again, the outward ignorance displayed by some, and you want to shield them from that. All in all, we just try to fill our home with love because we know when they leave those doors, that's something they may not get.
Yeah. I notice this with my children. I don't think that they pick up on the pessimism that adults are feeling. Or if they pick up on it, they don't carry it with them.
They don't carry it with them. And their bad days are usually because mommy and daddy didn't put a snack in their bag. So, relatively speaking, I think we're doing all right so far.
You're the child of a civil rights activist. You've been a civil rights activist. How do you see that long, slow arc of social justice bending right now that Dr. King talked about, that Barack Obama brought back into the consciousness with his speaking? How do you see it?
Yeah, no, I feel like we're going backwards. I feel like the attacks we've had on DEI, the attacks we've had on institutions of higher learning, particularly HBCUs, etc. I look at those things and it feels like we're right before Brown v. Board of Education. And we just have to, every time we're on the precipice of a period of reconstruction, we take steps back. That always happens. We saw it after Brown v. Board, and we've seen it recently after George Floyd. There's still a lot of fight, a lot of meat on the bone left because those individuals who are allowing their ignorance to envelop their policy are driving the train. And so the rest of us have to hold on and hope that over the next couple of years, we can have a better America.
Yeah. Anger is something I know a lot of people are feeling right now. My wife's a therapist, so I hear her say that anger can be productive, but it can also destroy. You have to talk about this stuff on a daily basis. How do you balance that feeling of frustration with where we are, with vision for where we're going?
The peace. I don't have that frustration. I'll continue to raise my voice, but I just try to love on my wife and love on my kids and just stay away from that frustration because a lot of times that frustration or anger can become paralyzing.
And what do you say to people who are feeling paralyzed, who say maybe it's healthy to tune out a little bit right now?
It's good. I think that you have to take, particularly now, so much stresses in the world, so many stresses in the world. I think about just social media and the things that our children have to go through that you and I didn't have to go through. I can't imagine having Snapchat or Instagram when I was in high school. I might not be here today. I just think about all those pressures externally. It's always good to just take care of yourself sometimes.
What do you look out there and see right now in the South and say that makes me feel optimistic or that makes me feel inspired? What is that for you?
I mean, I feel like journalists like yourself are like finally not allowing the world to push them around and say, look, we have a role, speaking up for that role of journalism, particularly telling the stories, not on CNN or MSNBC on Fox News, but you're really driving the narrative in those respective cities and municipalities and local governments. And you're able to truly effectuate change like that. And you're actually able to touch a voter and have that trust with that voter more so than anybody else. So I think journalism is on its way back.
That's inspiring to hear. Who's your hero, Bakari? Who inspires you?
I'd probably say Sadie is my hero. I would always say my daddy, and my daddy is always going to be one of my heroes. But Sadie, my daughter, is probably the strongest woman I've ever seen in my life. Going through a liver transplant at 10 months old and being here today at 6 and still doing extremely well with no modifications or anything. It's fascinating to see.
I wish you and your family well, and I hope everything goes well for Sadie.